Hi, welcome to Social Work 600. These are some overview slides for social welfare policy. Um, this is to use in conjunction with the other videos in week 1 module. So let's get started. What is social welfare? So in this course, we're going to be talking about policy, but social policy, but we're going to be focusing on social welfare policy specifically. So social welfare is a state or condition of well-being in which people's needs are met, their problems are managed, and their opportunities for them are made, are enhanced. There's a couple different ways that social welfare can be promoted. There are nonprofits, there are faith-based systems, and then there are systems within the formal structure of the government or through the state. And what is policy? So policy are the laws, public or private regulations, formal procedures, or simply a normative sanctioned pattern of behavior. And it exists in our society and most societies. There are several different forms of public policies. They can be in the form of law, rules or regulations, which are like laws but not as stringent. There are sort of operational decisions which are made within systems, and then there are judicial decisions. So you will hear about a Supreme Court decision that can have an effect on policy or make a policy. And what is social policy? So there's lots of different policies related to different areas in our society, but social policy is specific to strengthening or assuring provisions for meeting the social needs of the people in the society. And they're a group that is recognized as needing this need. Needing the service, and it's recognized as the basics for the welfare of the population and for the society to function well. And basically, we'll be talking about this a little bit. It's transforming private troubles into public issues. So individuals, private or individual situation or problems they have going on, social policy by social policy and addressing that, it's making it a public issue. And then what is social welfare policy? Well, it's a smaller subset of social policies. So you can have big social policies that regulate benefits to people, and then the social welfare would be a subset of that, and it's defined. It's for individuals that society has defined as being needy. So in some ways, the social welfare policies sometimes have conflicting goals. So on one hand, it's to enhance the social and economic well-being of the members of society, but it also ensures their conformity to certain societal norms, standards, or ideology. So if we look at like our welfare system, we provide welfare benefits to people to help them meet their basic needs of housing or food or energy. But we are also at the same time saying, hey, you need to, do these certain things. You need to work. You, can't spend your food stamps on certain things. And, so we kind of have norms that they need to follow. So social welfare policies, these are programs that are intended to assist the vulnerable populations. That's how it first started. And we'll talk more about that when we get into the historical context of social policy. But basically, older individuals, widowed, children, people with disabilities. So those are kind of like the first priority populations that we think of when we think of wanting to develop welfare policy. All social interventions are intended to enhance or maintain the social functioning of the human being in society. So the purpose of this policy is to get the person to a place where they can, be functioning members of our society. And it transfers from the government to the individuals that would not happen in free market. So transfers from government to individuals. So there could be what started out as the responsibility of the government, carries on to transfers over to the individual, and it becomes their responsibility. Some of the goals and functions of social welfare policy. So we kind of think of it as like social welfare versus social ill-fare. So the social welfare is supposed to develop and make things better. Social welfare policies may operate in complex ways and have different consequences for different groups of people. So in trying to help one group of people, another group may, suffer because of it. So if you look at the pictures in the slides, the first one is taken from the Jim Crow law days where there was segregation. So the policies at that time were what the dominant society considered to be policies working for the welfare of its citizens, but in actuality, it had different consequences for African Americans who suffered the ill fare of those policies. Same with the second picture with education. Again, policies in education that help one set may hurt another. So various policies related to testing or grading or, the performance of schools can have different effects on, say, a public school in one neighborhood as opposed to a public school in another neighborhood. And then the last picture, which I'm not sure if you can see because my video is over it, and I'm not quite sure how to move this yet. I'm still new to this format, but it basically is pictures of people, protesting against the wall and immigrants. So again, a big percentage of our society feels that having a wall and controlling immigration and refugees that are coming in is important policies to have to protect our society and for the welfare of our society. But on the other hand, it tends to marginalize different groups and have different consequences for other members of our society, immigrants, people seeking a refuge here, families of immigrants that are here. So that gives you kind of an idea. There is a sort of protocol or step system for how a policy is developed, and these are the steps listed here. We'll go over it more in detail. But basically, you start with recognition, which is recognizing the problem or the issue at hand, and then legitimizing it. Legitimation is, finding examples in your community. That could be like, let's say you have an issue and it's affecting several of you, your friends and you and your neighbors, and you go to your congressman or your council person and get them to get on board, tell them what the problem is, and that's legitimizing it. There's enough people that there is an issue that something should be done. And then mobilization, getting everyone together, your supports, your resources, your platform together to start pushing your policy development. And then formulation, where you basically are developing all the different components of your policy, who it covers, the target population, all the details that go into the policy that you want. And then implementation. Obviously, you implement the policy and try the policy out, see how it works, try it, do a trial run. And then evaluation, where you're evaluating the outcomes. How well did the policy work? Did it meet the target goals that you had set? Are the right population being served? Is the policy addressing what you had originally started out as your intention? So some key questions that a lot of people ask when they're talking about social policies are, what kind of benefits are offered? So, depending on the policy, you want to make sure you talk about what specific benefits are going to be coming from that policy. So for example, with food stamps, okay, so what benefits are offered with the food stamps, policy on food stamps? So, how much do they get? What's the income level? Where are they allowed to shop? Things like that. What are the basis of social allocation? Like, who is eligible for it? What target population is it, meant to serve? And what kind of things do they need to meet? Income levels. Maybe it's a policy related to a neighborhood that they live in, so they have to live in a certain zip code, things like that. And then how are the benefits delivered? Is it through a private agency or is it public? Is it a government agency? Do they get a check once a month or do they get an EBT card? Is it the form of a voucher or something else? Or, what ways do they get their benefits? And then how are the benefits financed? Who's paying for this? Is it coming out of our, the general population's income tax? Is it through a grant? Is it through, is it part of the budget, the government budget? And then how's the policy evaluated? What mechanisms do they have in place to evaluate if the policy is working, is serving the population it's supposed to serve, is it cost effective, is it efficient, all those things. And so when you do your policy analysis, you will take into consideration all of these points. These are what you want to look for when you're analyzing a policy. Do they have all these components addressed? So this is a good slide to keep in mind and to use for your second assignment, which will be the policy analysis assignment. But you'll get more details about that, but I just wanted to note this particular slide and this information.